Welcome to Macros 101. We're going to keep it fairly simple today and just go over some general information and basic principles about the three macronutrients, go over some general recommendations for each, and also go over some common misconceptions that you might have heard about protein, carbs, or fat in the past. Starting with protein, protein are our building blocks. So protein goes towards building new tissue in the body or building new muscle in the body, whereas our carbs and our fats are our energy sources. So protein, building blocks, carbs and fats are our body's energy sources. Protein is the most satiating macronutrient per calorie when compared to the other two macronutrients. So a higher protein diet can be more filling and can help you feel less hungry over the course of the day or over the course of the week, which can be really beneficial when you're in a calorie deficit, or if you're not in a calorie deficit and you're just eating in general. Higher protein diets can help keep you fuller for longer. General recommendations for protein are 0.7 to 1.3 grams per pound of body weight. There are a lot of different recommendations that you might see in textbooks or online or on macro calculators. But a general rule of thumb, I like to keep it fairly simple and shooting for 0.7 grams per pound as a minimum for your protein for the day. So if you are a 100-pound person, 70 grams of protein would be kind of your minimum goal for the day. Now, a common misconception when it comes to protein consumption is that protein is bad for your kidneys. Now, if you have healthy kidneys, this is absolutely not the case. You have nothing to worry about if you consume a higher amount of protein. If you do have a history of kidney disease or have kidney issues right now, let's talk about it. And it would be advisable for you to talk to your doctor, your kidney doctor, before you start jacking up your protein, okay? Moving on to carbohydrates. They are your body's primary workout fuel. And they're super, super important for recovery as well. I like to break the carbohydrates down into three different categories: fibrous carbs, starchy carbs, and refined carbohydrates. Now, fibrous carbs are things like fruits and vegetables and beans and lentils, stuff with a lot of fiber. Starchy carbs are things like potatoes or squash or corn or oats, things like that. And then your refined carbohydrates are things like simple sugars or table sugar or white breads and white pasta, desserts, stuff like that. Now, the majority of your carbs should absolutely come from fibrous carbs and starchy carbs. They have more fiber, which can also help keep you fuller and be more satiating. And they have a lot more micronutrients, which are just important for overall health. And also energy production as well. Now, that does not mean that you can never eat refined carbohydrates, okay? And that doesn't mean you can't have them or include them into your diet. Refined carbohydrates, we have to remember, have less nutrients, and they also tend to have less fiber, making them less filling and way easier to overeat, okay? They're also like really fucking delicious, right? So that also contributes to the overconsumption of them, which can contribute to the overconsumption of calories in general. Which brings me to my last point, this conception or perception that carbs make you gain weight or they make you fat. It's the overconsumption of calories over time that make you gain weight, okay? It's not just carbs alone. Obviously, the more refined carbohydrates, the more processed foods that you have, the less satiating those foods are, the more likely it is for you to overeat them. That contributes to weight gain over time. But a lot of times, refined carbohydrates in foods that you eat away from home, they have other things like fats and are cooked with oils and have more ingredients that add to the calorie content, in addition to the refined carbohydrates that are in the product as well. So, moral of the story, carbs do not make you gain weight. Overconsumption of calories do. And unfortunately, refined carbohydrates are super easy to overindulge and overconsume those in a regular sitting. Moving on to fats. Having enough fats in your diet is super important. One, for optimal hormone production. So hitting your daily minimum of fat goal per day is going to be super important. And I'll get to that in a second. But having enough fat in your diet is also super important for the absorption of our fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamins A, D, E, and K. And not eating enough fat can contribute to deficiencies in these vitamins. And we're, as a population as a whole, we're already likely to be deficient in other vitamins and minerals as well. So it's important to not follow a very low fat diet because you think that's what's contributing to weight gain as well, when in reality, it does a lot for us. Now, are there different types of fats? 100%. Trans fats, saturated fats, unsaturated fats, that could be a whole nother video on its own. But fats are still super important for normal bodily functions, for hormone productions, and for the absorption of our fat-soluble vitamins. So again, getting enough, fat in per day to help you absorb those vitamins is going to be crucial. General recommendation for fat is having at least 0.3 grams of fat per pound of body weight. For example, if you weigh 150 pounds, having 45 grams of fat today as your minimum would be a good starting point. Now, that is your lower end. You would absolutely and likely benefit from having more, but I want you to remember that that would be your minimum technically. But I hope this all makes sense. Kind of in review, protein are our body's building blocks. Carbs are our body's preferred energy source, and they're super important for optimal recovery from your workouts. And fat is super optimal for our hormone production and the absorption of our fat-soluble vitamins. And honestly, just for overall health as well. But takeaway message too is don't fear carbs. Carbs are amazing, and eating enough carbs will actually help with your workouts, and they will help you get to your body composition goals over time. Making sure those carbs are coming from fibrous carbs and starchy carbs are definitely beneficial, but not to say that we can never eat refined carbohydrates. When it comes to calories as a whole, what matters is what our calories come to at the end of the day, and are we hitting our protein goal? That's why we focus on protein every single day, because calories can differ day to day, and the makeup of your calories from carbs and fats isn't as important as meeting your minimum protein goal for the day. So keeping in mind, how many calories are you eating over the course of the day? Are you hitting your protein goal? And then how you get to your calories aside from meeting your minimum daily protein goal, it's kind of up to you. So hope this makes sense. I'll see you in the next video.